Hi everyone, welcome to Nareen's Life with MS. This is Nareen and it's time for What MS Taught Me. And this episode of What MS Taught Me is something that, I definitely don't want to make it just for MS patients. I do want to make it for really everyone, even though the name I've given this one thing is more MS related. But what I like to do is carry what at least I like to say um, uh, what normally I mean the name constantly changes because I keep forgetting the name for it. But normally, one thing that I always do is, when I'm traveling all around, I mean, there usually is a home version of it as well. But the version is usually something that is much more, um, it's in a place where there's no set place for where it has to be at home, right? I actually feel like this can pretty much exist in each and every single one of your rooms, and that of course is this idea of having a relapse kit, right? A lot of times I don't call it a relapse kit, sometimes I call it an emergency kit. Just something that will make it a little easier for you when, say, especially while you're traveling, where if you do come across a certain situation where you might need help, might actually need to do something where, because you are experiencing, let's say, a relapse, you are experiencing some form of inflammation. One thing that you should do is always keep the ready medications at hand. But of course, with any sort of relapse kit, or for that matter emergency kit, especially if you don't have something like MS with yourself, it should always contain certain medications that will always be helpful. Some medications that are generally very common are your paracetamol or ibuprofen, whichever one works for you. For me, I usually prefer to take both of them, just in case that you know if I know that I am experiencing more inflammation, especially in my legs and my hands. I will more than likely go towards the ibuprofen, whereas if it's just a plain fever, I might decide to go more towards the paracetamol route. So definitely do keep them. Definitely do keep antihistamines, anything that can keep you safe from allergies or colds and coughs, if you especially are a little more susceptible to getting a cold and a cough. So definitely do keep those as well. And you can always keep them in you know their own medication packaging, or better yet, you can keep them in certain specialized medicine containers, right, that are of course available everywhere, so that you have the ability to have them on hand. And this is very important, especially when you are traveling somewhere where you might not easily get uh, medical you might not easily have access to some kind of medical center or some kind of clinic, um, if that happens. So I do want to share one experience of where my relapse kit actually came handy, which was, I want to say, 2014 in Panama. So we were just hiking through we were just hiking through the forest to get to our volunteering area. And this was when I was volunteering, and I was in Panama for the volunteering experience. And I remember I was leading a group of other volunteers to pretty much to the area where we were volunteering the previous year. And because I was probably the only person who actually knew that area, I was the leader of this group of, I'd say, 14 or 15 volunteers. And I remember I fell over a tree trunk and I sprained my ankle. And so I had to pretty much come back to the community rather than continue onwards towards the volunteering area. And I remember at that point in time, because I started experiencing inflammation happening especially around my ankles, considering I you know fell over fell over a tree trunk, a very visible tree trunk. Thankfully I did have the proper medication available so that I could easily just pop that medication in. So it is very important, but to have all of those medications handy. But apart from that, over time, one thing that I have definitely learned is it is very important to have other things in your relapse kit. I mean, first of all, having medications there is great, but apart from having medications, a lot of times one thing that people tend to forget is, even with the simple OTC medication that you might use in case of inflammation, in case of getting sick, a lot of times what ends up happening is a lot of those um, medications might actually be very harsh to your body. So as a result, also keep snacks in your definitely keep snacks, keep chocolates, keep candy, keep something that you will be able to at least um, cover, you know have before you actually take the medication, just in case you you know have that in just in case your medication might actually need you to take some to have some food beforehand. So that is definitely one thing to also keep. Then a third thing to have is always have a small write-up of what your medical condition is. With me and MS, one thing I like to do is just to write down some of the major things about my version of MS, right? What are some of the main symptoms I generally experience? What is my a short version of my disease history, and of course anything that might also help um, you know in the case that you do fall unconscious, or you know you have a little trouble in getting to your senses, say an emergency happens. So yes, it is very important to also have a quick write-up, just in case you're not available, your faculties are not available for you to help yourself, and so someone else can help you in that position. So that is of course the third thing that I like to keep in my relapse emergency kit, whatever you want to call it. A fourth thing that I also like keeping with all of these things, where you have your snacks, you have your medication, you have some a small write-up, is also to pretty much ensure that while you have all of these things, just in case you are in a place where you are using, let's say, your phone or your devices very frequently, and so your devices are at risk of you know turning off, or definitely getting discharged. Definitely also do keep a portable charger with you. Now, of course, there is a certain issue when regarding portable chargers, because if we are talking about travel, there are certain things that you have to do with your portable chargers to ensure that they are safely kept with you at all times while you are in the middle of your travel. But of course, do take that extra step in making sure that it is with you, it is on you at that time, and it is also part of your larger relapse kit, emergency kit, whatever you want to call it. um, because these things will be very important, especially when you are in a pinch, to be able to not be completely lost, uh, so that you can easily help yourself, and not have to resort to help from other people, especially when it comes to going to needing some sort of medical intervention especially. So with that said, there are of course very important things when we discuss the ability to travel, the ability to be independent, the ability to still retain a part of our life, right? Despite the fact that you know MS definitely tries to throw a wrench into it. It is very important that if you are going to go about your way, if you're trying to reclaim a little bit of your independence by traveling, being somewhere solo, definitely do create this emergency kit so that it is on you, and you will be able to help yourself before it comes to asking help from other strangers. Because a lot of times what ends up happening is you might be in a certain location where you may or may not speak the local language, so you might have a little trouble in communicating with other people. So that is one thing that I hope, um, without my actual mentioning without me actually mentioning it, that you have already pretty much made such you know plans, or you've already made your emergency kit just in case those kinds of things do end up happening. And yes, one thing that I will also keep as part of my emergency kit, as part of my relapse kit, even though I assure you this will not fit into it, is a buddy, right? A lot of times what ends up happening is, you know while yes, being on a solo journey, being on a solo trip is very adventurous, and of course is definitely on a different level, there will come a time where you will realize that you do need someone else to travel alongside you, just so they are also able to pretty much, so that they actually know of your entire medical history, so that they will actually be able to speak for you in the case that you are not available to speak for yourself. So with that said, those are some very very important things to always have. So keep your medications on hand when you are going on travel. Please do keep a write up of your condition, and what is important, what is not important. Always keep snacks on you so that you can easily have some snacks if your medication does require it. Hopefully that does not become a case. um, and of course, apart from having all of that, if you can, definitely keep a buddy with you, so that they will be able to assist you as well. If you're not able to assist yourself, they will definitely be able to assist you. So yes, here are some um, very interesting things that MS has definitely taught me. Now, thinking about myself, I can definitely say that had I not gotten MS, I probably would not have been as street smart about keeping each and every single thing in my emergency kit. So there might have been a little bit of panic from my end had I not had MS, but definitely I will say that MS does make you a little more, I would say it definitely makes you a little smarter, definitely makes you a little more self aware of the fact that there are always issues, there are pitfalls everywhere that can impact, um, you know, not only the health and safety of you, but also make sure that you know there doesn't come a time where you have to compromise something, especially when you are traveling. So with that said, this has been Narain's Life with MS. I am Narain. Of course, if you do have other things that you do want to add to my emergency kit or your emergency kit, do share that. Do share your thoughts, do share your insights, do share your experiences so that we can get this conversation started. And finally, with all that said, I do want to wish you a good night, sweet dreams, and I'll talk to you tomorrow. Bye.